I covered how to store multiple variables in an array and then use a for loop to iterate through each cell in the array and then access those values accordingly. Yes. So clearly, if I wanted to do the same over there, I could let me just control drag that down one, and I would make one, whoops, one for the x value and one for the y value. Yeah. But there was a little bit different way of doing that. I introduced you to JSON objects kind of early in the game, even though we're not doing object-oriented programming per se yet necessarily, you know. So what we would do instead of storing individual units in here is we could store JSON objects, which would have more than one coordinate. You may recall earlier we did var player equals, and then inside the brackets you give it some values, x and 20 comma y 50. Okay, so now it has an x and y value inside the JSON object, right? Like that. Oops, 50. There's my player. And so now, you know, we could access here player.y. Here, I'll just go player. I like doing it that way. Player.y. Yes, okay, see, so now I can access the value stored in the JSON object. Okay, so let me undo real quick. So now I could also, let me bring this whole JSON object onto a single line. I'm just going to, here's what you do. You highlight up and grab all that and space there. Okay, so now I could grab this JSON object like that, copy, and I'm just going to put that inside a new array that I will just call coords, like that. There, coords equals, there. I've just declared a new empty array, and I could put a JSON object in there. Okay, so now I have an array with one cell that I can access this value. So that would be here, it would be coords 0, because it's 0, 1, 2 in arrays, right? And dot whatever x. See, now I can access that value, or I could access the y value that's stored in there. So to do more than one of these, I'm going to copy that, and I can add a comma, paste, comma, paste. See, so now I have 3 separate objects, JSON objects in there that each have their own independent x and y values, you see. 350 there. Okay, so now it's starting to wrap down to another line here, so I could just kind of clean that up a bit. I will start that on a new line, that on a new line, that on a new line, and I'll end it all the way back there, nice and neat. See, I can see each object. Remember now, if I want to add another object and copy that, you have to add the comma after. See, each of these is separated with a comma in there. See, so now for each instead of well, stick with balls. I'm just going to rename balls, or right here, balls there. For each in balls, right, it'll be balls x and its count. See, so max using the for loop to access each cell, and instead of the y here, I'll add the x there. So now I am independently, let's see, oh, these are the same, so we're not seeing any difference there. 4 independent objects, each that hold an X and Y value in there. Another thing I did not show you, I think I meant to when I did my for loops video. Here I've got a var count equals 0 count, and it will continue as long as the condition is whatever is here, as long as it's less than the length of there, and then it adds, right? Okay. There's a little bit shorter way to access an array, fortunately, than doing it the long way like that. And that would be, I believe it's count, var count in array name. I no longer need this. There. Count in array name. See, much shorter. Okay, and so you can appreciate shortcuts. I think a lot more once you've already done it the long way. I think sometimes people get confused when if I teach you the shortcut and then you see the other way in some other code, but now you know how to do it both ways. And so then you appreciate the shortcuts even more, right? So there. So that is a much quicker way to access, only for an array, or maybe some other types of things, but instead of having to type out the long for loop thing. Okay. So here, of course, also I could, let's say, color. I like to declare a color outside of, instead of trying to type it in there, because then autocomplete will do the whole thing for me. I'm going to X that out of there now. And here I could add a color attribute now, like that. See? So now I could set this one to whatever, this color. And I'm going to grab this whole thing and the comma. Very nice. Copy that. And I suppose I could just, instead of copy it, I could just control drag one there. Well, now it's no longer highlighted, or is it? Let me see. It is indeed still highlighted, even though it is not visibly highlighted. I'm still holding control and dragging all this down there. Yeah, nice feature. Here, we're going to just set that to another color real quick. This one to something else, and this one to whatever. See, so now 4 separate colors. So to access the color value, I will just use this balls count dot in here, where I'm setting the stroke dot color. There, and now each has their own independent color. So that is a very convenient way if you're dealing with like 50 enemies or obstacles or tiles or whatever on a screen, that all have different X and Y or whatever variables associated with them, to keep them all kind of organized as JSON objects, and then you access them, using the whatever value, dot property name. You see, so if I want the next one, that gives me this one. See, if I go to 2, I got this one. So, and then if I'm using my nice short for loop. Here I've said count. I kind of prefer to use, when I'm going through an array, use each, because it just reads so well. For each in my array, print each. Use each value, right? Somehow that just seems really readable to me. Oh, let's see. Yep, you have to use the var. I was just checking. There you go. So, don't really need that there. Storing numerous JSON objects in an array. Right. Now, another way to do that, here I have seeded a bunch of values into the array when I declared it, you know. So another way would be, I'm going to cut this out of there and go down here. Now I have numerous lines of code, and instead of putting comments in front of each, there's this way you go. I could say a comment asterisk, and then down here asterisk comment, and it comments out this entire block of code temporarily, you know. Okay, so while I illustrate, I'm declaring my balls array here, empty, and now I can add an item to the array like so. I will say, well, first let me illustrate. I'm going to, here, let me just toss something in the array real quick, which would be like this, balls dot push, okay? And then inside there, I'm going to give it a value of, say, 36, okay? Now, let's have a look at that. I'm going to just print that line out of balls there, right in there. There, and there's the value that's stored in there. See, so let me push another value. Let me just grab this, copy that, new line. There, 36, 36. I have two of the same in there. I put. Observe that the next value that I push is added to the end of the list. You know, so last in, then it's going to be the last in the stack. They call it. You know, so clearly I can add as many values as I want into my array by using push. I was going to say, oops, that's the same one. Whatever. So that's one way to do it. So I can also push a JSON object into the array, like that. It won't tell me the values. It's just going to tell me that it's an object down here, right? But okay, so let me copy this whole line now, and I'm going to push another thingy onto the array here, like this. Copy. Whoops. I'm sorry. I need to copy this. I'm going to do 4 objects. I want to just copy both of those lines down there, and then I want whatever's in this one, copy that into and what's in there, and whatever's in this one as what's in there. Balls.push. See, there. So now it's accessing the different thingies there. You see? What's going on here? Why am I pushing 4 and only seeing 3, though? Am I sharing some values? Yes, I am. These are both identical. So this one, there. Now I have 4 objects, you know, and each with their own independent color and X and Y values, you see. Very convenient way to store numerous objects, you know. So now I can just, if I want to add more things in there, I just call that and put in, you know, whatever values I want. So that is dealing with an array of JSON objects, and then a nice, easier shortcut to access your array and access each of the properties in each of the array's cells, 0, 1, 2,